Let me just start. First of all, thank you very much. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Hope your tree is real and up already. But let me just ask this question to start. Is that the way it was going to play out, you think, from Mack Brown's perspective, that he was going to retire today?
Adam, that is a great question. And it's kind of hard to filter through the he said, she said aspect of things.
Right.
But the fact that Mack Brown went on a bit of a PR tour past couple of weeks, telling anybody who would listen that he planned to be back, even going back to last Monday, he said that he was planning to be back. That kind of throws a wrench into his comments after the game on Saturday night. You hate to see it kind of play out the way that it did, but I don't think there was any question that it was time for UNC and Mack Brown to part ways.
Greg Barnes, Inside Carolina at GC Barnes 23 on Twitter. That's the thing that gets me about what Matt, and I guess the sad part is that it's going to overshadow this is what I wanted to do, this is what I said, this is what they did. Because that's basically the way it played out. It's going to overshadow the Mack Brown 2.0. So only one more about what actually happened. Because if it would have been very easy for Mack to just tell Bubba Cunningham, hey, when the season ends, I will retire so we don't have to go through this. So it almost leads me to believe that, like we're just playing revisionist history with all of it.
Well, sure. And university contact told us, a spokesperson said that there was no indication given to Bubba that Mack was going to step down at the end of the year. So if that was part of the plan, you would think that would be shared with Bubba. But again, you get into the he said, she said aspect of it. A little perspective here, Adam. You've been around a long time and done this for a long time. When Mack came back, in November 2018, one thing that he really pushed in meetings with media members was his version of events for why he left to go to Texas back in the fall, December of '97. Very specific, saying that Dickie Bedore botched how all that played out, and that they wanted to stay, but because things were done so poorly that they really had no choice but to leave. And so when you bookend that with what happened, this past weekend, in terms of the entire point of that post-game statement was basically to put blame on Bubba for handling it poorly.
Right.
As Mack said himself, that, hey, I was going to step down anyway. This was just handled poorly. So when you add it to kind of, his goal when he came in to kind of smooth over what had happened when he left the last time, it just kind of speaks to Mack's ability to shape the narrative. And as I said, there's a lot of he said, she said here. But at the end of the day, it was time for UNC to move on to the next stage, which is where we're at.
Greg Barnes, Inside Carolina, joining us here on the Adam Gold Show. All right, I've a billion more things about this that are running through my head, but I'm going to have to sort through it myself. So let's get to where we go from here with the football program. Let me ask this, a bigger picture about Mack 2.0, because even though the success on the field wasn't as good as maybe it should have been, maybe they should have won more games, did he not accomplish his goal in terms of getting the program back on good, solid foundations?
I think so, for sure. Especially if you look at the academic side of things, Carolina has really thrived in Mack Brown 2.0. A big thing that happened at the end of the Larry Fedora era was that he just really kind of did a poor job with those high school recruiting relations with the area coaches. Mack really did a great job repairing that. Mack raised, I want to say it was right at $24 million his first 3 years for the university and athletic department, and they used that to not only improve facilities. There was 2 renovations, one's currently ongoing, but they also increased the assistant coaching pool,
right,
salary pool. So there's a lot of good things that Mack did. I think really the best way to probably look at this is if Mack came in and they had laid out a plan of saying, look, Mack's older. We only expect him to be here 5 years. We want to hit these benchmarks. Everybody would have been on board. It wouldn't have been a problem.
Right.
But, this year, I think this was the worst team that Mack fielded. And there was this sense that he wanted to keep it going, even though I think everybody knew that it was probably had run its course. And so that's kind of the sad thing about it, is you're exactly right. First 5 years, I think it went exactly how they had hoped it would go.
Yeah.
And then this year and beyond, it's just, it wasn't trending in the right direction.
Yeah, the funny thing is that I really thought, it felt to me like last year was going to be the last year. I was honestly surprised that we had year 6. I really, really was, based on just a vibe I got from, at times, Mack, and at times the program, that last year was going to be the last year. And then we had this year, and this year was, I think we all thought it was going to be a challenge. I mean, you can go best case scenario, which might have been 8, maybe 9 wins if everything went right, but obviously it didn't. All right, so now where do we go from here? Do they try to stay within the? I hate the within the family type of hires, because no offense to my friend John Bunting, but that's ultimately where you end up. You end up, favoring somebody who's worn that uniform or been through it here before, rather than go out and get the best possible coach. So where do you think they're going to end up?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be anybody within the family. I think that's it may work for basketball, but as you said, there's really not that much success on the football side of things to warrant that type of decision anyway.
Right.
Because you do end up with the John Bunnings of the world. And it's going to be, when you look at what Bubba has preferred to do throughout his career, not just at Carolina but prior, he wants to hire somebody that has head coach experience. Now, of course, Hubert is an outlier to that, but that really wasn't Bubba's decision anyway.
Right.
So I think what you're going to see is that they're going to probably want to go younger, which makes a lot of sense, but find somebody who's had success as a head coach. And I think North Carolina is in a unique situation, and one of the reasons that it was important for them to go ahead and break ties with Mack this year is that there's really not a lot of competition for P4 openings. I know West Virginia has opened up, but next year it looks like there could be some big names that open up. And so by getting into the mix this year, you may not have your choice, but you're going to have some pretty good options at some of these young up-and-comers who have had success at maybe smaller programs. And I think that's where Bubba's looking.
Greg Barnes, Inside Carolina at GC Barnes 23 on Twitter. It's certainly been a tumultuous time. Favorite thing about the second iteration of Mack Brown for Greg Barnes was what?
I would have to say going to the Orange Bowl. I think that was a big high mark for UNC football, especially after that was just such a bad year for everybody in terms of having to deal with COVID and all that. So
True.
I think that was really the high point, and that clearly was the best team that Mack 2.0 provided.
Greg Barnes, Inside Carolina. I thank you very much, man. I appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks, Adam. Appreciate it.
You got it. Greg Barnes here on The Adam Gold Show.